the Employee Leadership Development Program for the City of Laredo. We're gonna have the presentation right now. I'm just wanna mention some of welcome our guests. We have our panel. We have Ms. They are going to be introduced in a little bit. I just want to welcome Ms. Adriana Rodriguez. She's the interim director from TAMU Continuing Education Program and her staff. Thank you for being here with us. We also want to welcome Mr. Ken Richard from Bridge, who's the assistant director. And we also have Elizabeth Estrada, assistant director for Bridge as well. I also want to introduce to you Ms. Carol Torkel, and she's our interim human resources director. So welcome and thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Good morning. Good morning, everybody, and I want to welcome you. Thank you for being with us today for our 2025 City of Laredo Employee Leadership Development Program Final Projects presentation. We are honored to gather here in council chambers and truly appreciate the continued support of city leadership in investing in our employees and in the future of the City of Laredo. I would like to begin by acknowledging our city leaderships and executive team whose vision and support make programs like this possible. Your commitment to leadership development, ethics, and organizational growth enforces the city's dedication to excellence of public service and to empowering employees in every level. I would also like to recognize from our Human Resources Department, specifically our Employee Relations and Learning and Development Division, for their dedication in advancing this program year after year. This program does not move forward without strong leadership, coordination, and follow through. I want to acknowledge Zulema Ortiz as our Employee Relations Manager and Marta Mejia, our Employee Relations Specialist, for their hard work, leadership, and commitment to ensure the continued success and evolution of the Employee Leadership Development Program. Your efforts behind the scenes have a meaningful impact in every participant in this cohort. The Employee Leadership Program is an initiative under the Project Achieve, designed to empower and elevate emerging leaders within the City of Laredo. This year's cohort began its journey on February of 2025, committed to an intense 10-month program focused on leadership growth, collaboration, and service excellence. Throughout the program, participants visited 10 city departments, gaining valuable insights into operations, organizational structure, and the challenges faced across our city. Each session also included 4 hours of leadership and ethics instruction delivered by Professor Daniela Rodriguez from Texas A&M International University, providing participants with a strong foundation in ethical public sector leadership. Today represents the culmination of this journey. Participants present their final project, where they were challenged to analyze real issues impacting the organization and purpose thoughtful, practical solutions aligned with city priorities. We are grateful for the time and the expertise of our review panel, who will evaluate the presentations and provide constructive feedback. With our panel, we have Ms. Etienne Hinojosa, our Director of Bridge, Ms. Amanda Pieta from 911 Program Manager, Ms. Dora Maldonado, our Tax Assessor Collector, Ms. Daniela Rodriguez from Texas A&M International University, and myself, I'm also part of the panel. Thank you for the support of these participants and for helping us recognize the growth of our future city leaderships. Thank you.
So we're going to start with Group 1. Group 1 participants are Abril Mosqueda, Federico Elizondo, Elias Caro, and Brenda Perez. Their topic is leadership during a spending freeze.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
We're facing this way, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So my name is Federico Lizondo,
Brenda Perez.
And Elias Caro.
and today we'll be talking about leadership during a spending freeze. So we want to make it clear we're not making any accusations here. We're just sharing with you all what we've learned through this course and through our personal experiences as well. So we're going to be talking about different components here of dealing with a resource shortage. So trust, not demoralizing staff and employees, creative solutions, transparency, and recommendations. So first of all, we need to think about why trust is important during a resource shortage. So the way I like to think about it is a resource shortage almost makes us feel like a house of cards, right? Things are delicate, things are precarious. We don't know what might happen in the future. And so trust comes in by maybe not necessarily intervening so that the house of cards doesn't fall down, but giving employees a sense of care and concern that even if it does fall down, we're going to have your best interests in mind. So there's many different types of crisis, right? And it's really hard to pinpoint, right? You don't see a bright sign that says, hey, this is a crisis, right? But when you talk about a resource shortage, the main one that comes to mind is an economic crisis, right? There's cash shortages, plain and simple. But you also have our outside environment playing a factor into that. So for example, Laredo is in a border town. We're neighbors with Mexico. And so things like different policies and regulations impact us as well. So something like tariffs is something that we don't have too much control over here in the city, but it's still something that we're subject to, something that impacts us. So when you're thinking about a resource shortage, there are external factors that come into play as well. And lastly, public perception, right? We've all been there where we've seen that Facebook post, or we have that one employee that's always ahead of everything, and they sort of get control of the narrative if we don't step in effectively. So again, the first step is acknowledging there's a crisis, right? You don't want to be like this dog here in an office where everything's on fire and you're in denial, like this is fine, nothing's gonna happen. There's actually a little snippet of a comic, and if you see the rest of the comic, it's pretty sad for the dog. So basically, a crisis is very complex, right? So it's rare. It doesn't happen very often, which might explain why we're not as well prepared to handle crises. And then they're also uncertain. We don't know exactly what's going on. I think COVID was a perfect example where we were learning things as we go, and crises tend to have that factor as well. They're also hard to resolve. They don't have a simple solution that fits all. There's no universal way to approach every conflict, right? And lastly, they affect others, which is what makes crisis so important, is that they involve more people than just a small group. So here's where we come in as ethical leaders in a crisis. So the first step, as I mentioned, is recognizing that the crisis has occurred, right? You can't fix a problem if you're not willing to acknowledge the problem. The next step is making sure that you're there, right? So on that image, we see president being there during a natural disaster. So just think about the impact that has on somebody who's on the ground, on the rubble, right? Like having somebody like in a position of power, which leaders often have that sense of authority. It just means a lot to people knowing that you're there on the ground. And maybe it's not necessarily just to best coordinate resources, although I think that does help as well, but it's just to show people that you're there and you're humanizing them. And we'll talk about a crisis management plan. I know it sounds a little bit complex, but it's actually quite simple. So basically with the crisis management plan, you want to focus on putting out the fires, right? Do damage control, because that will end up limiting the extent of that crisis. And it's also very important to have a crisis management team, right? So these can be legal experts like attorneys, it can be public relations professionals, operational managers, and IT managers. And so I know a lot of times, I know I'm guilty of this, where I think, oh, there's a department that does this, there's a department that does that. But in reality, within the city, within each department, we have people like this, right? We all know that one employee that's really good at knowing which policies pertain to what. we have those people that are really good at crafting an effective message, of delivering the bad news really well. And then we have people who know the processes, the protocols really well. And we have that designated staff member that's probably IT before IT can even get there, right? So this is something that you all can leverage as your resources within your each own department, and not just necessarily rely. Yes, it's important to consult with other people, but sometimes with crisis, you don't have the time. So it's really good to start crafting your crisis management plan. So the behaviors that we found that build trust is having an ethical crisis management. So broad responsibility is really important, right? These crises affect more people, and so you need to have a greater sense of responsibility for those people. Transparency, we'll talk more in a little bit, but essentially you want people to have the right to make an informed decision. You know, nobody likes to feel undermined, and if you're asking them to make decisions every day, but you're withholding certain information, they're gonna feel like they don't have any trust in that. So it's really important to have transparency. Next, you have decisive/heroic action. So these are the things that are hard to do, right? The ones that you really need to have courage so you can follow through on these actions. They're the types of actions that you might have to go against the grain, or in the cases of uncertainty, you might not know what impact it's going to have, but the goal is to still take that risk and try and do something, even if it's small. Next, you have care and concern. So basically, it's looking at a person as a whole. So when we think about resource shortage, maybe it's not just about people's economic livelihood. It's seeing them as a person and saying, hey, you know what? I understand you have a family, or I understand that this might be stressful. Appealing to their psychology or their emotions can be very powerful as well. Next, you have the head and heart, right? So in these situations, it's really hard to think logically, but it's super important to try and be ahead of the curve. So as soon as you see warning signs, start trying to pick up on those, right? So in the case of a resource shortage, you might start noticing, okay, well, maybe we don't need these expenses, or seeing the economic trends as a whole in the nation. Next, you have a moral foundation. So again, these crises are sometimes happen on the spot, and you need to know how to react. There's no game plan for what to do in each crisis, but as long as you have strong moral foundations, that's going to make the difference on what you're going to do when you don't have time to think. You're going to fall back on those values that you have ingrained in you to make those gray area decisions. And lastly, you have resilience. So this is the most important part, because it helps strengthen you, seeing that challenge as an opportunity and rebuilding stronger, right? What doesn't kill us make us stronger, and this is something that we want to embody with the resource shortage, right? Trying to find ways in which this can actually be an opportunity or a resource.
Thank you, Federico. Elias, for the note. So as we shift into how can we prioritize services without demoralizing staff or constituents, there's three components. We look at transparency, fairness, and participation. These three components are very, very important when we talk about how do we prioritize our services. Transparency, when we look at it, is being honest, communicating effectively, not withholding any information, and really representing, the whole picture. When we talk about fairness, we're assessing our team, making sure that we hold our individuals accountable to the same standard. Not mitigating, certain tasks with our team, but making sure that as we're assessing our team and our talent, we're holding everyone to the same standard. And participation. What does participation mean? Getting the feedback, incorporating different viewpoints, understanding the viewpoint and the perspective as a team, and correlating all these three components together. Why does this matter? Again, as our service demands continue growing, we can continue going with limited resources. What happens? We can eventually have our team, burn out. We can see that, with the team using different buckets, different hats, they're shifting, different tasks. So this can ultimately lead to staff burnouts. And again, we can have community team skepticism or mistrust. Why mistrust? Not understanding the bigger picture, not understanding why are we shifting from task to task. This correlates with like ethical leadership, right? Provides the roadmap. So with the roadmap, the team is able to understand where we're headed, how we're headed, and when we're gonna shift. Now, as we talk about this class, one of the hugest components that we learn is as a leader, you can either create two different components to your team. You can create the light or the shadow. And we might ask ourselves, what is a light or what is a shadow? The light is anything positive that we can, create to our team through transparency with the teams, fairness, participation, and moral vision. You could create a vision. In other words, create a positive environment. Now, as we look at casting shadows, easily not communicating effectively, mismanaging information, or inconsistencies, that can create a shadow when it comes to the team. So shadows shadows can ultimately lead a team to either be disengaged or become emotionally detached, and that can add to the crisis. So what is our goal? Casting a light as a leader while making difficult choices. As a leader, we're gonna encounter a lot of problems, and we gotta make sure that we're making the right choice ethically for the team, for the city, and ask ourselves, am I gonna be proud of this choice? Is the team gonna follow me? How do I make an impact? Now, through stewardship and moral purpose, right? We gotta lead with our mission first. How do we do this? By prioritizing our services, what benefits the department or even the city. How do we do this? Highlighting how our decisions support our strategy plan. Each department, right? We have our own capital improvement plan, our projects that we have long term. How do we incorporate our decisions that align with that, even from our budget plan? And overall, our Viva La Lado plan. How are we correlating these three dynamics into our decisions that we're making in order to spearhead the decisions that we're making and have our team, follow what the vision and the goal is. Again, stewardship means careful management. Now, through transparency, we avoid these shadows of mismanaged information and clearly state why certain services are prioritized. Again, transparency means we're advising our team on where our goal is, how we're going to get there, and the reasoning why. As an effective leader, one should communicate openly and often through either meetings, check-ins, or even surveys. We're able to, articulate and receive the message from our team, what they think, how they feel. While creating these check-ins, we're able to analyze, does our team understand? Are we being clear? And how are we doing as a leader to really, pivot if we're identifying gaps? Now, transparency equals trust and stability. Fairness and consistent criteria. What does that mean? Clear and equitable standards. So as a leader, we should really assess and understand our team. Pre-plan, understand what are our strengths of our team and what are our weaknesses. And how do we use or leverage their skill set to fully complement each other? Again, cross-functionality helps a lot during your team, to create this stability and teamwork effort. Now, apply the same standard to your whole team will really clearly maintain that fairness and consistent criteria. So again, fairness equals preventing demoralization, which can lead to emotional disconnect. And emotional disconnect is the worst thing that you can see. When your team becomes emotionally disconnected, that means they're not following you, they're not continuing your vision. There might be some inconsistency when it comes to that. Emotionally disconnect, they're completely out. Now, engaging our staff, right? We should welcome our team for inclusive feedback. What does that mean? Hey, different viewpoints, different understandings. Using these points, we're able to assess or identify something that, as a leader, sometimes, we look ourselves, we're drivers, we want results. But we need to take a step back and really assess, okay, how are we a better mentor? How are we a better leader? How do we assess and execute that? Again, helping and motivating the team to communicate effectively on any deficiencies and fixing them. This can inspire and motivate the team when being heard. Again, as a leader, you gotta show empathy. Hear out your team and really understand why are they feeling the way they're feeling. But again, As a leader, we're going to come across different tough decisions. And we got to make sure that those decisions, when we're making them, we're explaining the whys, the whos, and the whens. And again, while showing empathy, we got to recognize our team. Our team needs to understand that they're doing a good job to keep them emotionally intact and making sure that they understand that they hold value. Highlighting the team's win as the changes take effect, that's a huge one. Small victories are better than no victories, and that's why we should make sure that we emphasize on those key components. Again, participation equals ownership. So as an individual gets the feedback, they feel that they're part of the group, and they feel the ownership and are willing to continue the spearhead mission. And again, as a leader, we have a lot of ethical decision makings that we need to make sure we apply. Balancing competing values where it can either be efficiency versus compassion. A lot of the times we look at efficiency. Hey, how is the team providing? What are they doing? But we got to make sure we're, taking a step back and really advising them and showing them compassion that they're doing a good job and that they're continuing, providing these excellent services. Assessing ethical impacts on departments before finalizing potential constraints. We have to make sure as we're making these choices, we're asking ourselves, is this something that the team will understand? Why or why not? And making sure that we elaborate on that communication. Explaining the pros and cons, and then clarify the reasoning. A lot of times the team, can lose the vision, the goal, by not, understanding the clarity, or being afraid to ask questions. That's why we should document the process in order, if there's any questions, the team can go back and reassess. Again, the ethical compass equals clarity plus integrity. Now, as ethical leaders, we should sustain our morals during the changes. Again, these components that we elaborated, the three components of transparent decision, support our trust, fairness promotes cooperation, and cross-functionality helps promote teamwork. Again, the participation of our team helps you deliver empathy and helps your team morale. These are the components that can help you during these phases.
Thank you. Some solutions that we find for when we're in spending freeze are purchase orders. Check your line items, check the purchase order in our system. When you see it in the line items, it appears as encumbrances. So check your encumbrances, check if you have necessary encumbrance from all years that you can close, and then you can use for whatever necessary or immediate thing that your department needs. Vacancies. Vacancies is a really important thing since most of our departments are approximately 90% or more in just salaries. So whenever you have a vacancy, it's a time for you to assess that position, to assess if you actually need that position, if it's something really important that you need, if it's something that you can try to use with one of the other staff, if it's something that you can be without some months until the freeze is stopped, and you can use that money to help you also get anything important and emergent that is going on in this spending freeze. Supplies. There's some departments, let's just say, that you have a storage room, you have a cabinet full of stuff, of supplies. Please do an inventory of your supplies, because probably you're gonna have that pen, that paper that you like, and even though if you don't have that specifically 0.7 gel pen that you like, there is your preferred brand, you can use other stuff that you have while this spending freeze is. Also, printing double-sided. Sometimes people don't like to see double-sided, but in times where there's an emergency, double-sided, it's fine, it's okay. So something for you to see, it's making sure that your supplies that you have, they can help you in the situations. Internships or volunteer. The city has some partnerships with different schools here in the city, so you can leverage in these specific moments those partnerships with different schools, so they can do internships, and also they can do community hours, volunteer hours. So for example, if we're talking the vacancies, if you don't have all your staff, you can use these students to help you out with different stuff that they can do, that you can put your staff to do some other things that they are more specific or specialized in your field. So that's something that you can leverage. It can also help the community, giving volunteer hours, giving internships. Thank you.
Good morning. So transparency strengthens the public and employee confidence. During the spending freeze, uncertainty naturally increases for both the community and our employees. Transparency is one of the strongest tools we have to maintain trust and stability. When we clearly explain our budget priorities and communicate how decisions are made, we reduce confusion and show the process in thoughtful and strategic. Transparency also demonstrates fairness. Staff and residents can see the reduction are applied consistently across the departments, which helps prevent the perception of favoritism or hidden agendas. Being open about the trade-offs we face also builds credibility. It shows that leadership is not avoiding difficult conversations. We're addressing them honestly and responsibly. And when employees understand the full picture, they are more willing to participate in finding solutions, which strengthens teamwork and sharing responsibility. Proactive communication also helps prevent misinformation, which is especially important during financial constraints. Finally, transparency models accountability. When leadership is open about decisions and outcomes, it reinforces ethical practices and strengthens confidence in how the city is being managed. Overall, transparency helps both the public and our employees feel informed, respected, and reassured that we are navigating the spending rate with integrity and fairness.
Okay, so lastly, we wanted to leave you all with some recommendations of what we can do if there are any future freezes. And so one of the main ones is establishing your core priorities. What's essential and what's not, you know. This is where we see, okay, this is what really needs to happen. Hey, maybe this is ideal, but we can wait or we can set it off. And so that's one aspect. Planning for the future is also important, right? I know we, as Americans, might not have the best financial literacy, right? Like we're built on a society of credit, right? And so oftentimes that doesn't let us think about the future, right? Because if we can get it now, well then why worry about the future? And so it's really important to make sure that we take the time to see how might the decisions that we're making now influence us in maybe a year from now, 5 years from now, even 10 years from now.
And as we mentioned throughout the entire presentation, transparency strengthens the confidence by clearly showing how and why decisions are made during a spending freeze. When leadership open communicates priority budget constraints and the reasoning behind changes, it reduces uncertainty and builds trust. Staff feel included and valued, which helps maintain morale, and the public gains reassurance the resources are being managed responsibly. Transparent communication ultimately creates the credibility, stability, and stronger support for the decisions being made.
For budget, something that I can say or I can recommend is actually looking at your budget, look at your different line items, understand what each of the line items is, what you can spend on each. If you have questions, ask questions. It's okay to ask questions. We have a finance department, a budget department. You can ask either of them and they will help you see the difference between all the line items. Also, this is a great opportunity for you to try to find any grants, any local money that is there, that is here in the community, to try to offset any of the local match that we call it in the grants, or any money that you can try to also save in these moments. It can help you also put it on another item. And remember, or try to put it the positive way. It's an opportunity. This is an opportunity for you to actually see what your department is. How is your department working? How are you spending the money? It's an opportunity for you to see, okay, what can we do different? What is going on? What can I change in this specific aspect that we're having all the trouble? So take it as an opportunity.
And overall, all these components, right, as a leader, we got to make sure that we're setting up a blueprint, you know, setting up a foundation for our future. Because our decisions our planning, our impact has a huge outcome when it comes to our community. So as leaders, we got to make sure we're emphasizing on these crucial, important topics, and making sure that overall the community understands where we're headed, how we're going to do it, and when are we going to do it. And that concludes our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're gonna hear some feedback from the panel. So, I don't know, whoever is ready.
Go ahead. I do have a question, along with feedback. But based on the research that you all did on the spending freeze, looking at the last spending freeze that we recently had this last fiscal year, do you feel that that spending freeze was done accordingly? And would you have done anything differently?
I
That's
need
a good
to
question.
Can you repeat the question, please? What do you want to?
In looking at the last spending freeze that we just had the last fiscal year, right, do you feel, based on the research that you all did, that the city did it accordingly? And, or would you suggest anything that should have been done differently from the last spending freeze that we had?
I think according to what we have seen, it was a crisis. We weren't ready for a crisis. We managed it. We managed to what our knowledge for what the management visions were. So we did it accordingly to what we haven't had, according to what we're trying and prevent the crisis. I think in every situation that we pass, there's recommendations that we can always do. And just making sure that everyone is engaged in what is happening and not just pinpoint of this person knows. So I think something that, like we were mentioning, transparency, making sure all the heads are in the same place and they can all see, okay, we're trying and preventing money from this and this, okay, so we can actually get together and actually see, okay, we can save all of this specific amount of money. So that would be my thought.
Thank you. I did like some feedback, the thought of you're looking at the transparency, because I think that's a very key thing. And the communication is a very high expectation that should be done, and obviously across the board, the constant communication, internal, external for our community, so that they're also aware of that. So I'm happy that you incorporated that within your presentation.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, something that came up a lot in a lot of these discussions was like our financial literacy. We feel like the average person doesn't have a really strong financial literacy, so education can be another component that we can incorporate with that, right? Because a lot of people don't know how these funds work, where we get these funds, how much exactly we get, and so that was something that can tie in with transparency too, is having an educational component to that as well.
I think you all did an excellent job with the overview of leadership. The way you all broke it down by stewardship, transparency, fairness, it was very, very clear. And I think it's apparent that you all spent a good amount of time on that. I did appreciate the comparison to light versus shadow, because it gives a visual to the audience. So I thought you all did that very well. I think I would have spent a little bit more time on the budget, because the topic is on a spending freeze. So I think if you had one or two more slides about the budget, because I know Abril went back and did an overview on it, but I would add one or two more slides about the budget, just to really bring it full circle. But overall, you all presented very clearly. There was good eye contact. I feel like you all spent a good amount of time at the podium, and you all did a good job.
If I may, I was going to touch base on the budget. I just want to congratulate you for taking the time, for working as a team, which is what you talked about whenever there's a spending freeze, a leadership. And like Ms. Amanda mentioned, of course, if it's about budgeting, it would have helped a lot if we would have something to explain the budget, line items, just a brief snip or a picture. But Thank you for taking the time. It takes a lot to be up there. You know, remember this is a leadership class. So remember, when you go back to your departments, focus on that, implement that. Don't just take it as a certification or as a presentation and I'm done. Everything that you've learned for all this 10 months, 11 months, take it back to your department. Use it efficiently and effectively. Don't just put away your certification or just hang it, because you're the next leaders that are gonna make a difference. You're seeing what goes on and all what happens on a daily basis at the city, your departments, other departments, at council meetings. So make sure you're the next generation. Make a change, implement it. Don't just be here just because you want a certification, but use it as a certification to grow within the city and make a change. Don't stay stuck in your departments, because y'all can do so much more. And I appreciate the work. And just one thing that I would have loved to, that I saw who presented, who did all, just one little thing. Don't read out from your papers. But other than that, it was great. It was clear, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
In the same lines, I congratulate all of you. I think you all did an excellent job in explaining the whole situation about, the freeze. I specifically, like the rest of the panel mentioned, that you touched on public perception, about ethical responsibility, and, of course, transparency, which is very important for our community. I feel that Elias, you explained really well about engaging staff, which I think is very important for morality, for your employees, to include them in important things that is going to affect your department. So overall, I think you all did very, very well. And like Ms. Elsa said, you all explained yourselves very well. The reading, I think you need to engage a little bit more with the panel, with the group, if you ever are, explaining to a group. I think it's important to read, but also to engage, right? But overall, congratulations again. I think you all did very well.
Thank you.
All right, team. Well, yes, I agree with the panel. That is a very timely issue. I believe we talked about those different facets of what it means when things are limited, such as budgets or time or constraints, especially in leadership. For me, I have a couple of questions. For example, is there a particular crisis that prompted this crisis management plan? Other than, like, you all talked about, freeze, but is there something in particular that you said, yeah, this reminds me of this, and you all agreed, because at some point we all kind of had to come to the same consensus that this was an issue, right?
So with this project or with the cities?
Yes.
Okay, so with this project, yeah, we all come from different departments, and so that was a huge asset to this presentation and to understanding these issues, right? Because
Once we spoke to April, being that she's from budget, we were like, wow, we had no idea all of this was going behind, because in our departments, we weren't exposed to this, So I think that helped out a lot in that sense, that once we got together and being from different departments, we all got to see what was going on in Bridge, what was going on in budgets, what was going on with budgets, and what was going on with health, so that we were all surprised that there was so much on April that we're like, oh my God, we don't know what we would do, like we would be in your department.
If I might chime in, right? So I think as a leader, you really have to be in tune with, the city council meetings. That's very important when it comes to, like, where are we pivoting, where are we going, and what is it that they want from us, right? As a leader, we got to make sure we represent the city, not sub-departments. And I think that's the biggest thing, that when we got to make sure we're collaborating with our peers and making sure that we're aligning with what vision we have as a management team and what city council wants from us. And I think that's where, having these discussions, we kind of see different viewpoints, different elements that we don't normally understand or see it in our departments. So really cross-collaborating, communicating really makes us understand, okay, that's why we're headed towards that vision. This is why we're going to do it. No, we need to make sure these are the next components. And again, it's, baby steps, but we got to move forward versus moving back. And that's what we got to make sure as a leader, we're setting that blueprint in moving forward and having an impact, and a positive one for sure.
Okay, thank you. So, things that I perceived from your presentation, I thought that was an excellent way to frame the issue. I love the metaphor of the precarious house of cards because that tells us a sense of urgency with this issue. I think that you presented clear problems in terms of the cash shortages, the tariffs, the rumors, which can do a lot more harm than even some of the physical, right, ailments to the problem. You tied in your leadership principles that we discussed in terms of leadership in crisis and the crisis management plan. Some of the issues that still need to be strengthened are some of the quality in the images that you used, because I noticed that some were really, really well defined and then some were not. Little things like the font, right? The parallel, some was really, really well, and then the others were kind of all over the place. And of course, my mind looks at things and says, okay, there's a purpose to everything, so was there a purpose? And I think some of that was just, last minute. Deliverables, I would have liked to see some deliverables in terms of, if this is you presenting to me and telling me I need to look at what I can go back to my department and do, a deliverable of something that says, hey, an outline of some kind, right, that says, look, this is what we're looking at, kind of how you framed it, because you discussed it really well. But in my mind, I was trying to imagine, because as you all know, I'm visual, in terms of what that would look like if I'm looking at my team, right? And research. You talked about it, you showcased it, but it's not in your presentation. So to me, that's important, right? Because I want to know, as Elias is mentioning, City Council, you mentioned there's specific departments, there's research out there. What does that look like for your presentation in terms of, is it news articles, is it journals, is it what's happening in the Laredo Morning Times, where is this coming from? Because that's where it's all coming from, I know, because I heard it. But it's not in a place where then I can take it and say, okay, team, look, this is what I learned from this presentation. Let's take a look at some of these articles that we can now use, right? In terms of your presentation takeaway, which is the golden nugget of information for me, is the clear action plan. I'm able to see that, yes, if I have a team, I need to make sure that I recognize my team. I need to make sure that I listen to their voice, which can be done through surveys. I need to make sure that I'm being very consistent when I have my meetings and communicating, specifically documenting the process. I love that, because I think that part of what we learned is that if it's not on paper and documented, it didn't exist. And there's no way to go back and revise what happened. So that if there was a positive, let's recreate it. And if there wasn't, how do we learn from it, right? I love that. And then the practicality with the budget and supply solution. I mean, that's something so simple, but a lot of us don't think about it that way, because when we think of solutions, sometimes based on our positions, there are solutions that are like this, instead of, as you mentioned, right, baby steps. But overall, I think that you presented very interesting and creative ways to look at a huge problem that is not only facing this organization, but many organizations across the nation. And so I think that there are things that merit that research that you did that would help others. So congratulations, good job.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're gonna now have team two. The team two participants are Sandra Cáceres, Merari Guzmán, Jose Aguirre, and Jaime Ortiz. Their topic is improving public perception of the work the city of Laredo does.
Good morning, panel. Thank you all for being with us this morning. Thank you all for taking your time off your busy schedules to be here. Today we're Group 2. My name is Jaime Ortiz. I'm a Housing Programs Manager for Community Development Department.
Hi, good morning. My name is Jose Seguirre. I work for the Laredo Fire Department.
Hello, I'm Sandra Cáceres. I work for the Airport Department.
Hey, good morning. My name is Mary Guzman. I'm the head of the Benefits Division with HR.
So this morning, our topic is improving public perception of the work the City of Laredo does. Just to start off, how many of us have heard that the city doesn't do anything or that we take forever to do stuff? I think that's very common for people that don't know how the city works. These perceptions don't come from nowhere. They come from frustration, confusion, and always seeing what happens and not seeing what happens behind the scenes. The challenge isn't that the city isn't doing the work. The challenge is that the work isn't visible to the people. They don't see the work behind of what it takes to do something. Public perception matters because when residents trust the city, they're most likely to engage, follow the process, and support long-term solutions. Today, we want to talk about some common misconceptions residents have about city government, why they exist, and how improving communication can improve trust. Also, some of our recommendations: better outreach channels, PIO collaboration, correcting misconceptions, sharing impact stories, and practical communication initiatives. Us as city employees, as current and future leaders, we are often the first point of contact and when residents call, and we play a big role in shaping on how their perception is towards the city. And understanding these misconceptions is the first step towards changing the story the residents tell about our city. So, like I said, who hasn't heard the city doesn't do enough, the city isn't doing anything. The residents only see the final projects. They don't see what goes behind the scenes, what it takes for you to fix a road, what it takes for you to construct a sidewalk. They don't see that behind the scenes planning. They don't see the daily operations, and this includes projects like maintenance infrastructure, emergency response systems. Another thing, the city mismanages funds so that we have unlimited amount of money. Many people have the misconception where, the city just has one bank account and they can just spend and go fix the street and pay. It's like they don't understand the procurement process. They don't understand that there are regulations with federal grants, state funds, things like that. There's also confusion on the type of funds, like general funds, enterprise funds, grant funds. That's people just think it's always just one big pot of money. People also say projects take too long, the city's so slow. Like I said, it's people don't know procurement law. People don't know that for certain projects we need environmental clearances, and those can take months. And they just think, it's just que venga el camión, and they patch it up. Like, no. There's also permits and federal regulations. And like I said, they don't see the timeline and behind the steps of what it takes to do a project. The common misconception, all decisions are political and done behind closed doors. The public doesn't understand what it is to have or the open meetings law, where everything needs to be up and open for the public. People just think, they make their decisions and they just tell us what it is. Like, no, people don't understand. We have council. We have agendas that have to be placed. We have public comments sections where they can come and say what they feel or what their stance on a particular issue is. The reality that what the city actually does, we do essential services that people often take for granted. It's like, I have water, but then they actually don't see what it takes for water to come out of your faucet, all the maintenance that goes behind it, all the compliance and regulations. I think the city could do a better job of explaining why projects follow certain laws, certain procurement processes, how audits and financial oversights and transparency requirements affect each project. And some little examples that I've been personally involved with. For example, you can see in the picture the Santa Fe trails. So the city applied for a grant a long time ago. We got awarded a long time ago. But then the government shutdown comes in. There's all these different things that go behind the scenes where people say, hey, weren't y'all gonna build a trail here? And this was almost 2 years ago. So that's one of the common misconceptions where people just don't know what goes behind the scenes. And lastly, one example, the Lafayette Tiny Homes. People want something without knowing the type of funding that could go into a project and the restrictions it has towards that project. One of the great examples of combating misconception is, for example, when we had our bond referendum. The city had meetings and meetings and meetings to explain what the bond referendum was, what it was going to cover, where the money was going to go to specific projects, things like that. But we don't have that for regular council meetings. I feel that if we do something like that towards the regular council meetings, people will understand the process of what a council meeting is. They can easily understand the decisions that go to each project that we have or whatever is being discussed in council. Something that we could also do is infographics explaining costs, timing, and legal restrictions. That's something that was discussed in the bond meetings, and that's something that we could implement towards our council meetings where everything, city processes are discussed. I know PIO kind of sometimes does this video showing current infrastructure conditions. They do live videos of what projects are going on, how the projects are doing, post-meeting recap videos, and like the videos that they would sometimes do, here's what your council discussed this week. The strategies to improve, like I said, some of the strategies is to improve communication, storytelling, improve the transparency, strength communication, enhance consistency in messaging, and leveraging our 311 department. And just a call to action: every employee is a storyteller of the city of Laredo. And just as a final thought before my colleagues take over, when residents understand the why, they appreciate the work. I feel that once people understand what it takes to get somewhere, it's very easy to kill those misconceptions that the city has, or that the public has.
Thank you, Jaime. Okay, so now that Jaime has laid the foundation of what we believe the issues are, we're going to start talking about how we can, what strategies we need to utilize to be able to share our stories and have them have a bigger impact and for them to be more effective with our constituents. One of the biggest opportunities that we have as a city is to be able to tell our story and to be able to tell it more effectively. The city does a lot of meaningful work. Every single department does a lot of meaningful work every single day, but often the public doesn't see it as we have mentioned, or sometimes they don't understand the impact that it has on their daily lives. Stronger storytelling can help humanize the work that we do and build trust with our residents. The first suggestion that we would like to suggest would be before and after transformations. All of us have our daily commutes. We pass by the same streets, the same buildings every single day. And because of that, a lot of the times, certain things that change or certain areas that are being improved go and get bypassed by us because we tend to ignore it because we're so used to the routine that we always have. So we believe that one of the simplest but yet most powerful ways to show the work that the city does is by having before and after visuals that we can share either in social media or different platforms. It can be something as simple as this is now a street that was repaired. a neighborhood that was cleaned up, a park that was renovated, infrastructure upgrades. So all of those are clear visuals that will show the progress that the city is doing. People respond emotionally when they see the improvement. It's very easy for us to post on social media, you know, we have been doing this and that, but visuals have a very big impact. It can also help reinforce that behind every project, again, there is a team that makes it happen. Employee spotlights. So with this one, I do know that the city, before, I haven't seen it recently, they started posting with their 10-year employees, that ones that have over 30 years. They share their stories of how they started, how they're currently doing, and why they chose to continue working for the city. We believe these are all great. It is a great element that they can use, but another key element that we would suggest would be having a day in the life of kind of spotlight. They can see a day in the life of a firefighter, police officer, sanitation worker, a mechanic, customer service representative, and all of that will give residents a closer look at the people that serve them. When the community is able to see the dedication, they're able to see the skills and the heart behind our workforce, it builds a stronger connection that we now have with our community and our constituents. Going hand in hand with the before and after transformations, we also have the community impact metrics. So with this one, this is something that I have seen the fire department already including. They have monthly visuals, infographics that they show how many calls they had, how many fires they attended, the kind of calls that they have as well. And this is very impactful. I believe that if other departments started sharing maybe examples like 300 potholes were filled in a month, 25 dogs were adopted, 4 miles of brush were cleared. All of these give residents a clear idea of the accomplishments that are being done either in a very short period of time or in a long period of time, whatever the case might be. And they help understand the consistency of the work that is happening across the city. Once we start working on the before and after transformations, on the employee spotlights and the community impact metrics, our constituents will have a better idea of what the city is doing every single day. And with that, we are able to implement resident success stories. So what better way is just to have testimonials from our different residents of how they're impacted with the work that the city does. So this is another angle of storytelling, and it's something that we think would be very productive if we start implementing. Lastly, with the stronger storytellings, we have partnerships, like Group 1 mentioned. We have partnerships with schools, profits, nonprofits, organizations, and local businesses as well. And with these, we are showing collaboration, not that just that we work with that we work as a community and not in isolation. So sharing stories can also strengthen the relationships of the current partners that we have, as well as maybe because we are showcasing them, we might be able to encourage other partners to also take part in being involved with the city. Some of the formats that we recommend would be 60-second videos. I know that the city has already started with doing some recaps of our council meetings, but these would be more focused on the transformations and the metrics that we are doing. Other formats also Instagram Reels, TikTok, Facebook bilingual infographics. We live in a community where I would say almost all of us are bilingual, and I believe we need to include that more in our social media, that we also take into consideration that a lot of our followers are Spanish speakers. Short newsletters. I know we have a lot of generations that are still not very tech savvy or choose not to have any social media. Another way that they can be reached out can be either by short newsletters that can be mailed to residents, or maybe even placed in the newspaper, because there is a big group that still likes to purchase a newspaper and have their information via the newspaper. On-site event coverage, I'll get into a little bit more into that in the following slides. Stories told directly by staff or residents. Our employees are going to be our best recruiters that we can have for any positions that we have. So it's very important that just as we have our residents informed, that our employees are also informed of all the processes that we have and what work every single department is doing. So ultimately the goal is to reach people and meet people where they are at in the format that they actually enjoy consuming, whether it be social media or whether it be through the newspaper. So all of this storytelling is extremely powerful, but only if we are sharing it in places where people already spend their time. So this is going to bring us to the next point of underused communication channels. We're going to go ahead and start with social media. So these platforms are very simple to use: Instagram, Reels, and TikToks. Right now, the city of Laredo currently has 25,000 followers on Instagram. They do have a TikTok account with only 1,000 followers, and they haven't posted on the social media. I believe this is a platform that is being underutilized. TikTok has taken the internet by storm. It is one of the biggest platforms that everybody's currently using. You can do anything from 30 to 60-second videos. It is quick. It can be used something as simple as just talking about the process, how a fee works, or where does your fee go. Simple processes of how to maybe get your garage permit, your garage sale permit, as well as why a service might be taking a little too long. Another great option would be also the bilingual question and answer series. These can be live question and answer series that they can have while they are live in other work sites. That could be one thing, and having everything bilingual ensures accessibility and inclusion so that everybody understands. Sometimes if only things are either posted only in English or in Spanish, that creates a barrier and it creates a perfect space for there to be some misconceptions and misunderstandings. If somebody is just depending on somebody to translate the information for them, there might be some loss in communication right there. That brings me to the live streams. So the live streams are great, and I have seen where events have already started and they're inviting the community to engage and to come in for the tree lighting ceremony. For example, yesterday there was a tree lighting ceremony for the Independence Park, and I believe they started the live around 7 to let them know that the tree lighting was starting at 8. That is great when you're trying to engage with them already. We believe that, and we know that there's a lot of work that goes into putting those events together. So maybe live streams of behind the scenes look where everybody is coming in together, setting up their booths, setting up their tables, can give the city some transparency, and it shows some work authenticity where we are bringing our resources together and coming together for the community to come and enjoy. Myths and facts. So I believe there was some posts also during the bond referendum where they were talking about some myths and the facts in some videos, and I believe we need to continue on having this proactive approach with a lot of the things that are going on around the city, and advising them what is it that is happening, what is it that is true. There's a lot of misconceptions out there, especially when there are other resources also posting, not just the city. So it is important that we try to get ahead of the game, either that or build partnerships with other kind of influencers so that we all can share the same message. Department-specific highlights. So by giving each department its own highlight, each department can showcase the diversity that they have. I know that there are a lot of departments that currently have PIOs, and Jose will be getting a little bit more into that of how we can come together and kind of have more of a consistency and platform for that. So now that we have talked about social media presence, we also need to talk about our face-to-face interactions that we have with our community. And that brings us to our next topic with events. We can bring information directly to residents by setting up at different areas with little pop-up booths. Some that come to mind is our farmers market. I know that we have our farmers market at the outlets. There can be different departments that just set up a booth. It could be utilities, parks, any department. People can approach them, ask questions. What is it that we do? What are the services that we offer? And we can clear any misconceptions or anything. The main point is to have transparency and be able to build trust with our constituents. We can also be at the library events. I know they had recently a book sale. That's something that we can also just kind of pop up there and answer any questions. Youth sport tournaments, as well as neighborhood association meetings. All of those are great to showcase and give us visibility, and it allows our constituents to ask questions. There's also the idea of a mobile unit. So like I had mentioned previously, there are a lot of people that are not into social media. They do not have social media accounts. Another way that we can reach them is by having a mobile unit that will exhibit. It can be something simple, just visuals of what every department does and demonstrate the work that goes into them. This will help them keep it interactive. It can help them keep them engaged and we make them feel included with the information that we are already giving out via social media. Another great thing that we can do would be the open houses. So it would be the Meet the Department open houses. This one would be informal events. This will help our constituents feel included. They can feel comfortable meeting face to face to the people that process their utility bills, the people that process their work permits. It helps build trust, and the departments have the opportunity on that platform to share any updates that they have if there's going to be a change in how you process a claim. That is a great way that they can find out about this information and can be disseminated to the community. Lastly would be the school. So we have already talked about the interactions that we have, the stronger online presence that we need to have. We talked about our face-to-face interactions, but we also need to start reaching out to our future public servants. So we need to start educating the future workforce that will be serving this community as well. And the way to start with this is to start already going to schools, making our presence available in school presentations. I know for career days, some departments are invited to these career days, and departments get to talk about how they got there, what their careers and what they have achieved. But it's also important that maybe during the month of public service and public service week, we make an outreach to these schools, and not just TAMIU. I'm also talking about high school, middle school, maybe even elementary, that we start planting that little seed into those future generations so that they can see if public work is something that they have in their mind. Summer youth tours, facility tours, whether it be with the 911 centers, fire department, police departments, all of these are memorable experiences that students can have. Back when I was in middle school, there was a poetry contest, and it was actually done at the public library. Something that the city can implement are either art or essay contests. So these activities can encourage students to start researching and see who picks up the trash and the processes that we have. So it just doesn't give creativity. It also starts with that research, and parents can be involved, and they themselves can start learning a little bit more about everything that the city does for their constituents. So it's something fun, it's something creative, and something that can also be posted on our social media. The last thing is our internship or ambassador programs. I know that TAMIU currently has an internship program for their STEM students, although we only see that most of the activity for those, since it is for STEM, we see mostly the health department and engineering department take a role in this. We are thinking more in the grounds of having something available for middle school and high school students as well, so that they can understand that there are certain career paths that will lead them to the city of Laredo. So again, it prepares the next generation of public servants. Ultimately, our goal is simple. It's to make sure our residents truly see the value of the work that we do every day. And of course, all of this is not possible without the help of our employees ourselves and the incredible work that the PIO department does, which is what Jose will be talking in depth about.
Hello, good morning again. And going with the leadership, communication, all of these are very important because we have the resources to improve the department and the communication within inter-department and also to educate the community. And we're not saying they're undereducated or anything like that. It's just more of an exposure. And I do believe with the PAO department, it could be improved as far as getting internal coordination and improve external perception. So in our recommendations, we need to improve transparency, of course. Communication is key. For whatever reason, there's always a communication breakdown in all departments, within departments and inter-departments. So one of our recommendations is having quarterly PIO plus department liaisons planning meetings. Some departments have PIOs, some other departments don't have PIOs, but if they do, or if they don't, we recommend that they assign somebody as their representative, as their PIO, as their main person to talk to, have all the PIOs get together quarterly, funnel through one main PIO, I know maybe it's a stretch, but have one voice as the city, having other input from other PAOs, other departments, right? Also, we would recommend create a content calendar showing like seasonal work, especially, mosquito spraying, paving, budgeting cycles. Um, okay. Also, we recommend more training from departments. We need to train the department's reps on storytelling, uh, picture basics and content messages for strengthening field generated content. What Mareri was saying, that we need to create behind the scenes, what goes on behind the scenes. Sometimes the citizens don't know, or even other departments don't know what it takes to even fill a pothole. Sometimes you have to call utilities, sometimes you have to call public works, and it's just working together. More than anything, working together, having everybody communicate with each other. And as leaders, I do believe we have to take the initiative to implement these programs, not be proactive, not reactive. So also, what we could do, another recommendation is create like a template, a shared template, where all the departments can create social posts, again, funneled through a main PAO department, where citizens can input their frequent asked questions, have myth-busting sheets. Any perception that the citizens have about us can be answered either through that. I know we have the 311 system. I'm not too fond of it. I've used it before, but that's another story. But we could start improving that. We can use social media and use a central request system to submit stories and ideas through the PAOs, or each department PAO could funnel that through the main PAO, city PAO. But also we'd like to encourage staffs to capture photos, videos during field work, which, again, to reiterate what Merey was saying, like behind the scenes. A lot of people don't know what it takes, bridge department, 911 system. They don't know when you pick up the phone, the whole process that it goes through, the call taker, then you have your dispatcher, other elements like that. I'm more familiar with my department, but I'm assuming everybody has, and it's true, everybody has their own procedure. When the citizen calls you, there's a certain procedure. By the time it gets to the main director or implement a need, it takes time. So we believe that coordination between departments and education, having more communication within departments, will increase or better facilitate, streamline this process. And I'm done. I'm going to take it to Sandra.
Some expected benefits, we would get like greater trust and transparency, reduce frustration and complaints driven by misunderstandings, improve perception of efficiency and professionalism, stronger community engagement, more informed public participation at meetings, higher staff morale, better visibility of the city's values, more positive media coverage, and increased public confidence in city operations. By enhancing communication, transparency, and outreach, and by highlighting successes and staff contributions, the City of Laredo builds trust, reduces misunderstandings, strength, and community engagement. We increase informed participation in meetings and elections, boost employee morale, improves public perception of efficiency, encourage possible media coverage, and strengthens credibility with residents, community partners, and stakeholders. As people who work for the city and live in this community, we know the City of Laredo does a lot of meaningful work. Improving public perception isn't about changing what we do, it's about the impact we're already making. By using the right communication channels, sharing real success stories, and coordinating our messages across the department, we can help the public stay informed and feel connected and appreciate the work the City of Laredo already does. Thank you.
Do we have any questions?
Again, thank you. Again, I repeat for your time that you took all this time to do your presentation and bring us anything that we can learn and take back into the departments. Just my opinion, I believe all the stuff that you all provided in the last 2 years is being done. One by one, it's currently being done by PIO, some departments, what I've seen. One of the things that I caught my eye was the residents, the public, the constituents' stories. You know, it would be great if, not only just for the bad, you know, like bad opinions, but there's some good stories that the constituents might have. And I like that. That's a good recommendation, that maybe we could tell that story as well. But I believe that everything's being done, what I've seen through PIO. The only one TikTok that I believe we cannot use, it's just for the cities, I believe. The other ones, yes, that maybe they're underused, you're right, but I believe PIO and other departments are really trying to use all of those systems. Another thing that I really liked on Mr. Jose Zaguirre, your presentation, it's very true what you're saying to improve coordination, communication, and that's the key, you know, training. You know, some departments, we need to improve on our communication as well. To tell a story, if we don't have the training, how can we train other people? I like what you said. I think that was the main purpose, even though you had very little time. And that's another thing for future presentation that you all have. It's not a bad comment, it's just learn from it. I would have loved if all of you would have the same time to present. I know you had 19 minutes, 22, and maybe 6. So I would have loved for everyone to engage. I understand how y'all work, your strengths and everything, right? You try to balance it out, but it would have been great if you would have given us more information and detail. Another thing, what we can do, I believe in an example, Department of Bridge, and I've seen it in other departments. Yes, we have a newsletter. New things are being implemented, and that's great. As you have new people coming into the department, they have different ideas, and we embrace them. And I like that what you said. And that newsletter, we're taking pictures of staff, of their daily duties, what they do. And we do a section of what the work it entails that they do. So I like that. That some departments are doing it, yes. Other ones need to work on it. I know PIO just brought a new communications where they select, you know, like reels and presentations or videos and newsletters, so that's great. So that would help other departments to engage, so other departments can learn how it works. On UMS Cáceres, I wish you could have more time on that, but I really liked what you said in those 3 minutes, the expected benefits, employee morale. You know, I like that. We need to build trust, reduce misunderstandings. So everything starts with your employee morale as well. So I would have loved if you could have given us a little bit more information, but in all, thank you. And again, learn from this. You're the next leaders. Take this back into your departments and use it. Please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Laura. Are you sure? Yeah. Okay. Again, congratulations to the 4 of you. I think you did very well. I do agree that the time spent needs to be, you know, equal or as equal as possible. Merari, I think your presentation was very well communicated, talking about the partnership, the videos, the communication channels, and I do know that the city does have social media already. I know they do post a lot of information about the city, but of course, you know, there's always improvement there. And for Jose, I wanted to ask you, when you said about the departments communicating, can you elaborate a little bit more exactly what you meant by that?
Well, it's just my experience, and sometimes it's like some departments, when you're implementing something, other departments are not aware of it. It's just more of a general consensus between employees and citizens. It feels that it just seems, again, behind the scenes. That's why we need to educate the people and our employees that we are working together. I know we are working together, but it seems the misconception is that we are not. We have, again, utilities, fire department, bridge. Are we really communicating? Are we, meet quarterly to get to the mission or the vision of the city? Ultimately we're here for the citizens of Laredo. So I believe that's why we need to have those quarterly meetings that we talked about, so that way everybody's on the same page, not.
And I agree with you, and I appreciate you bringing the subject forward. However, I am a little bit skeptical because, like, for example, in property tax, to be able to share that with other departments, that would be great, but sometimes it's difficult. There's a lot of technicalities that are, for example, statutes, things that, we're required to do, by the tax code, that perhaps other departments may not be able to understand, and vice versa, right? I may not be able, our department may not be able to understand, the whole procedures about other departments, but nevertheless, I think our city management team is doing a great job in bringing forward all, the department issues, to the public and, through our council. But I greatly appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah, and I do agree, it is improving. I've been with the city of Laredo for 29 years, and I have seen improvement. So, and I can't wait to see how the city goes from here on out.
Thank you. Thank you.
It was a really good presentation. I'd like to echo my colleagues on the information they brought up. Is a lot of the areas that I was also looking into. I like that you all introduced yourselves individually at the beginning of your presentation, what departments you're from. So that was a very good key. Again, a lot of these areas, we do currently have these venues already going. But I did like some of the new areas that were brought in by Merari. In her portion of her presentation, I like the fact about having those live feeds where you can get those Q&As from the community as well. Maybe an option is maybe surveying the community on how would you like to hear more about what the city is doing. What is it, the venue that we need to maybe reach out? I know we do social media, the newsletters, but do we need to do more, what they call town hall, like more in the actual districts? Maybe partnering more with the news outlets that are out there, maybe on a monthly basis on these are the projects that the city's working on and highlighting those visualizations out there. I know that there's talks about educating during the council meetings. And those are very hinderous because council meetings, they start at 5:30. We have recognitions. Then they still have to go through their items, mayor and council, and then all the rest of the items. So sometimes they run out of time. Maybe other ways where how else we can educate besides the regular council meetings that happen only twice a month. But overall, you all did really well. I would have liked more of that balance between the presentation, between the whole team, because some had more information than others. Just not reading off the topics just directly on the presentations. You can read, but add more elaboration into those topics that are being discussed. But all in all, you all did a really good job. Thank you.
I really appreciated the ideas that the project was giving. I thought the ideas and the thought process behind this, they have so much positive potential. Were you all able to research what other city departments were currently doing when you were working on this project? Like, did you look at what other departments were currently working on?
Particularly for me, I touched on the bond referendum stuff. I did see that most cities, like Laredo, have successful bond referendums. I don't think we didn't do the right things, but they do very similar things that we did. And I mean, on the misperceptions, what I meant from council meetings is having those presentations that we had for the bond referendum for the council meetings, so people could understand what is being talked about or what will be talked about. I did search on those meetings, and some cities in Texas do have those meetings where they dissect what will happen in the council meeting or what already happened in the council meeting for public.
I think the only, and I love the ideas, I think every interaction is with the community is an opportunity to engage, right? So from the person who answers the phone to the people who answer the door at City Hall, every opportunity or every engagement is an opportunity. And I really like the ideas, right? The before and after visual effects, the storytelling. What I didn't see is what we're doing good right now, because there's so many things that PIO is doing. There's so many things that different departments are doing, and just that slide of what are we doing and how can we be better, right? But I agree with you. I think having those, for I'm the 911 program manager, and we manage 8 911 centers for our region, and we do have quarterly meetings where we're touching base with those managers, because you're right, like everybody gets on the same page, and you're distributing the same idea across all of your presentations, and I think the other thing we do is we have a whole public education team, and so we train them on what we want them to say, because then it's a clear, defined message across the board. You have the same message in Webb County that you do in Starr County, so across the board, I do think that would work. I think one thing that you mentioned was media coverage. A lot of times we get so much negative coverage, right? If there's something bad that happens, the media is there. And one thing that I try to do for 911 is with every good thing, I call the media, because all of those good things need to be highlighted as well. But I really think that you all took the time to brainstorm, to come up with, be creative, be positive. That's what we need, right, for the city. We need all of these little ideas, because, sometimes it's the same people who have been in departments for a long time. So it's good to get that new stream of ideas for how we can be, because everybody's doing the work, right? At the end of the day, everybody in their departments, they're doing a great job. They really are. I think the city of Laredo is doing a wonderful job with providing services. But I think you're right. There's that little disconnect, and I think your ideas have a lot of potential to make a positive impact. So I think you all did a great job with the presentation. Again, I would have just touched base on what the city is currently doing, because the PIO office is doing an amazing job, and just then transition into, okay, this is how we can improve. But wonderful job.
All right, team, thank you for taking on this laborious topic, because trying to figure out what is being said and how to present it to the community is very difficult, as you came to see, because there's so many different facets. I agree. What is missing right now, or what you're seeing is missing, you're talking about infographical information, videos, frequently asked questions, tweets, consistent messaging across departments, collaboration with schools, which could tie to early recruitment potentially for the city of Laredo, which is a great way to kind of tie in. But I agree with the panel in terms, from being an outsider, what is there now is not really something you touched upon, right? Because I think if we take this one step further, I don't think the issue is, just from everything that you presented, is the fact that it's not there. It's that it isn't in one area where a community member can go and say, okay, great. If I go to this one area in the main, because we talked about what is the mission statement for the city of Laredo as an organization. And then that mission statement goes down to the 30 departments that you have. And these all departments do something to help the city get to that. So in the main website, is there an area where it says, get to know us? And when you click on there, you've got frequently asked questions, you've got links to videos, you've got information about the city council, because if that's not there, then you touched on a really good subject, which is it should be in a combined repository. And I called it repository of learning, right? Where the community can engage and pick and choose information. And you're being very transparent about the information that is on there. But the community itself can go in and say, okay, well, I want to know about city council, or I want to know about, waste management, or I want to know, but it's all in one area. So that all departments, when they have information that they do and that is positive, they already know to tell their website or social media person or whatever, make sure that that's something that's put into that area, because we all know that that's the one space. So I think you have a really good idea, just needed a little more honing in to get to that place where, okay, we're all going to be on the same page. And everybody knows, right, that that's the one area. So if you ever have a question from the community in your department that says, well, where do I get this information about, this new event or whatever? It's all going to be in that one place, right? Other than that, I think that improving trust is important, which is the key focus of your presentation. You talked about outreach, you talked about collaboration, you talked about correcting misconceptions. And I think that here's the part where I want maybe some examples of what you mean by that. What are some misconceptions that you've seen that either need correcting and have not been done, or that the city did well in correcting, right? Practical communication, I like that, because a lot of the times I think that, having the videos of the council and what they do can sometimes be overwhelming for someone that doesn't know what that is, right? But I do agree that community impact metrics equals transparency, which is something positive for the organization. I think at the end of the day, what I got in terms of takeaways is the work that the city does is valuable. So I love that every employee is a storyteller, right? Which is very powerful. I think that humanizing city work, transformations, employee spotlights, highlight partnerships, a day in the life of, all community members matter. I love that the English and Spanish speakers, right, we need to take account everybody. Improve coordination to improve perception. I think that's important. I think that those are the takeaways that I got from your presentation. But just like I mentioned with the other presentation, where is the research? If I cannot follow it, it makes it very difficult for me to say, okay, it's feasible, right? I need to know, what is it that you're looking at? Because then I get to see your perspective. I got to hear a little bit based on the time that you were able to present, but when you don't have that time, because either the presentation runs out or that was not your section, this is where the research part comes in that can really help whoever it is that's listening to it, be able to see, right? And just a little bit more of images, because I think the city of Laredo as an organization is rich in the lives of how you impact the community. So having those images as part of your presentation, even if it's a little sprinkled here and there, would have been helpful as well. But other than that, great job on tackling a very difficult topic, but is very important and very vital to what an organization does. Good job.
Thank you.
Can we get like a 5-minute break?
Yep.
At least.
Yes. So we're gonna come on a 5-minute break, and then, yes, while the next group. Okay, we're going to start with our third and last group. The participants of this group are Liliana Hinojosa, Adriana Rodriguez, Vivian Ayala, and Ana Paula Garcia. Their topic is Leadership and Operational Efficiency Overview.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. We are Group 3, as mentioned, of the 2025 City of Laredo Leadership Program. My name is Vivian Ayala. I'm with Community Development, and with me is
Liliana Silva from Planning and Zoning Department.
Ana Garcia with the Laredo Public Libraries.
Adriana Rodriguez with the Laredo Public Health Department.
And today we're presenting an initiative that addresses one of the most fundamental aspects of customer service: how people check in, how they wait, and how their service is managed. The title of our presentation is Implementation of a Sign-in Software Solution for Digital Unification. And while this may seem like a simple technological upgrade, it is actually a strategic opportunity to enhance efficiency, reduce waste, and all while elevating customer experience and satisfaction citywide. Now, how this topic came about was during our department tours, we noticed that only 1 out of the 10 had an actual sign-in system. Later, we confirmed, and there's 2 current departments using it. But this did raise the question as to why aren't the other customer-facing departments using something? Are they even aware that we have it available at the city already? So this became clear that the customer service experience varies significantly across the city. And so today we want to walk you through our proposal for implementing the digital sign-in queue to unify, streamline, and modernize customer service across the city. Let's start by looking at the challenges. First and foremost, we have outdated technology. This does affect communication between departments. It's hard to integrate old systems with modern tools, and we're still relying very much on manual labor. Second, the process delays and errors. When we do manual entry, we do face the issue of transcribing errors. Sometimes we mix up account numbers, we're missing a phone number, addresses. All this information can be lost throughout this process. Not just that, it's a duplication of service. A system can do it for you. There's no need to be doing it manually. Also, it does take up time when later you want to look for these records. That's time being removed from other duties. Oops, I'm sorry. Third, understaffed departments. I think we all face this issue at some point, and manual processes just take away from doing higher value work. So this adds additional pressure to an already limited team. As mentioned, under standardized sign-in process, there isn't a method across the city, and sometimes, like some people are using email forms, manual sign-in paper, and some people have a receptionist at the front. However, this does create inconsistency and frustration for customers. Lack of data analysis. Paper sign-ins do not give statistics. I think that's the biggest takeaway. Without insights such as peak hours, average wait times, and the service demand, it makes it very hard for management to make informed decisions on staffing or operational needs. And finally, paper waste. Handwritten sign-ins generate significant paper waste, printing costs, and a need for storage space. So together, these challenges highlight the need for a unified system. And here we want to address it with our proposed solution. Implement a digital queue management and electronic system. Why? Because it increases efficiency. First, by its customer flow. Its system organizes the customer information by service type. It assigns it to the appropriate staff, and it records the time of arrival. It could also assign priority to what the customer demand is. This reduces the lobby congestion and eliminates any kind of confusion. It also ensures a fair and transparent process. It also increases operational efficiency. So staff no longer needs to be taken away and disrupted from their duties to interpret the handwriting or answer basic questions that we all get. Who's next? How much time before it's my turn? So this system gives you real-time updates. So in turn, it reduces the manual workload, allowing staff to redirect their time to their duties. Second, it supports cost and waste reduction. So this creates an immediate environmental and financial benefit. And last, but most importantly, this system enhances the overall customer experience for the customer. In reducing their wait time, the customer feels informed, supported, and respected when they understand when they are in line and when they can expect to be serviced next. This shows that we value their time. Liliana will now walk us through more details of the proposed solution and highlight some key features as well as some obstacles that we noticed. Liliana.
Hi everyone, good morning.
implementing a digital signing system is just not about technology. It's about consistency and long-term planning. One of the major benefits is better record keeping and data. Digital systems store customer information, timestamps, service types, and wait times. This provides reliable data to identify staff needs, improve scheduling, analyze trends demands, and measure customer service performance. Data of this quality is not possible with handwritten lists. Another major advantage is modernization. Rather than each department using separate tools, methods, and outdated systems, we unify the check-in process under one platform. Additionally, let's not forget about standardization. A unified process means that regardless of which department a resident visits, the experience feels familiar, predictable, and professional. This consistency builds trust and ensures that all departments follow best practices. Modernization in our processes also improves internal collaboration. If multiple departments use the same tool, they can share techniques, troubleshoot together, and maintain smoother communication, reducing training and support challenges. Overall, this solution supports the creation of an efficient and unified customer service model. Now, let's take a look at some of the core features of the digital signing system and how they bring value to both residents and staff. First, digital queue system. Residents can sign in electronically when they arrive, or even using their mobile devices. This reduces lobby crowding and makes the process much more convenient. 2. Real-time digital notifications. This system can send text messages showing a customer's place in line, estimated wait time, and any service instructions. Instead of waiting anxiously, residents are informed and empowered. 3. Electronic system stations. Departments can place self-service tablets or kiosks at their front desk. These stations collect information neatly and consistently, eliminating issues with handwriting or missing details. 4. QR codes for faster information. QR codes can link customers to frequently asked questions, forms, service descriptions, or web pages. This helps reduce repetitive questions at the front desk and speed up services. Departments can list different categories depending on their needs. For example, billing, inquiries, or meetings. This allows the system to sort customers accurately based on service type. These features create a structured, organized, and transparent customer experience that allows staff to manage workflow efficiently and reduces stress on busy days. The goal is not just digitalization, it's meaningful, practical improvement by reducing or even eliminate paper waste. By the way, the Planning and Zoning Department is taking steps to adopt a signing system. And we had our training this week. So we are working on this. As with any major operational improvement, it is important to recognize challenges. And we will need to address them accordingly in order to successfully implement a system. First, organizational priorities and leadership support. Not every department currently places signing as a priority. Some processes are working well enough, so change may be viewed as unnecessary or disruptive. Leadership buy-in is essential for adoption. Second, budget and resource constraints. Software licensing, rollout, and training must be planned for within the budget cycle. While the cost is relatively slow compared with the long-term savings, it still requires approval. Third, awareness and potential resistance. Many staff members may be unaware that digital solutions for signing software exist, or that they are already being used successfully within the city. Change can be intimidating, especially when it involves technology. Departments may fear interruptions, training burdens, or technical challenges. By acknowledging these obstacles, we can create targeted strategies to build trust, educate staff, secure funding, and implement the system in a way that feels supportive rather than disruptive. The good news is that these obstacles are manageable and the benefits far outweigh the challenges. With this in mind, Anna will explain the implementation steps, software details, and reports.
Hi, good morning, everybody. So I'm here to talk about the implementation steps we can take to begin putting in this program. So first, we have to create awareness. It's important to successfully implement this program by having directors know and understand this software well, and that way we can optimize their usage and benefits. The city can showcase this program by promoting its use and its efficiency and the way it's customizable to each department. Number 2 is needs assessment. So that said, each department has different needs, so they're going to need different aspects of this software. So what we can do is we can do a required analysis or needs assessment to evaluate exactly where this program would be most beneficial. Once this is done, we can tailor it to have optimal benefits for each of our departments. We can especially prioritize those departments that face the public the most. And that way we can maximize the program usage. Number 3 would be cost planning. So according to the research we did, Cuba Software was the quote, one of the 2 departments that are currently using this was that it would cost approximately $8,500 a year for up to 18,000 visitors. Doing the math on that was approximately 55 customers per day. So depending on the department, those which are smaller, well, you can see here that it's adjustable for them, and those that are much bigger, we can negotiate to have it encompass a wider range of visitors. So again, it's scalable for the smaller departments, and the larger ones, we can always try to negotiate something new. It also has the added bonus, standardization. Number 4. We can adopt a unified digital platform across all departments. We'll have a consistent sign-in process, and that'll really help us and all our constituents kind of get used to a certain specific procedure everywhere. And that way we can increase our services and their satisfaction with our services. And number 5, communication and collaboration. So by using the same software across all these different places, we can kind of work together to discuss features. We can improve each other's customer surveys. We can boost our uses, and it has the added bonus of increasing communication between us, so that we have a common ground there to just speak with each other. So, software review findings. We've been talking about a queuing program. So back to our leadership class, one of the best, everything was amazing, right? But it was great being able to go on the tours of the departments and seeing all the different things each department had to offer. It was really interesting. It was really fun. This is actually how we came across the program we're currently discussing. In this case, it's the software QLess, that is the queuing software we're currently talking about. Now, the departments currently utilizing the software are municipal court and utilities. So they're already kind of like implementing these steps and getting these new findings. So, what we have to say about this is QLess, this specific software with this specific company, is actually already trusted by the Texas Department of Information Resources. And basically what that means is that it's easier to use their services. It's pre-approved for government usage, and it facilitates the process to negotiate contracts. Oops, sorry. So there's also advanced functions to this software. As you can see in the first image, you actually get a mobile sign-in so that people can already see through their phones, because a large majority of them have phones, that you can see when it's your turn, and you can see that you've already been checked in. So there's no human error as to who would be next. In the second image, you can actually see different aspects of the service that was already provided. So you can see name, status, the status and where they are at that point in the service. You can see their language, what their preferred language, the activity of what they've done, the reason they've been there, and the timestamps. With these reports, we can have more accurate measures of what aspects we're doing great at and what things we could possibly improve on. And again, this would lead to improving overall customer satisfaction. Okay, so here you can see an image of what QLess has to offer, or what another queuing program would have to offer too. So QLess specifically invites customization of services to fit different departments. It allows for additional reports, as you can see here in this image. They list required data, which can then be sorted into informatics charts, and these detail specific changes over time. So as you can see in the first one, you can see average wait time, and then in the second one, you can see number of visits and how they're different from the month before. And you can compare them and see where to better allocate resources. Like if you have increased usage of these services during a certain month or a certain time, then you have the data here to back you up on those observations. All right, now that we've seen the reports and insights, which would be very beneficial to what we already have, we do recommend QLess just because of its ease of access. It's a viable option. It's not our only one, but it's a viable one. Now I'm going to pass it over to Adriana to discuss the process of adding QLess.
This slide breaks down the key steps for rolling out the software across the city, which is something that, like they mentioned, we did notice in the department tours that the thing that stuck out to us the most is that we want a unified city. We want unification across all departments. So knowing that 2 other departments are already using the system, we thought about presenting this so we can know that it can be used for other departments as well, and they can customize it to their own needs. So this slide breaks down the key steps for rolling out the software across the city, and we wanted the process to be clear, to be practical, and to be aligned to each department's needs. And I'll go ahead and walk you through each step. So first, we share the pilot to the IST and department directors. This ensures alignment and transparency. and support before moving forward. We highlight what worked, what improved, maybe some changes that need to be made, and we also highlight what we learned. And this step is mostly about getting everyone in the same page. In step 2, we look at the upcoming budget cycle to allocate where funding can be made. And this step is to make sure that the software is sustainable long term. In step 3, every department operates differently, so we make sure that we have customized timelines for each department, and we prioritize by their needs depending on traffic volume, depending on readiness, and based on each department's needs. This helps the rollout go smoothly instead of a one-size-fits-all approach. And this also helps the staff and the customers have a smoother experience. In step 4, we launched the sign-in software. So departments begin integrating the system. They have time for training staff and adjusting the workflow. This also includes making small adjustments as they go, like I mentioned, like any adjustments. Like Anna mentioned, like you can customize the system to your own department's needs. And this is where we can also get real-time feedback. And lastly, step 5, track quarterly progress, wait times, and satisfaction. After software launch, we monitor quarterly results to track success. And we also track wait times, staff and customer satisfaction, and any overall improvements that were made using this software. And this data also helps us refine the system and ensure long-term efficiency. Overall, this timeline keeps the rollout organized. It helps each step builds on the last one, and we want a smoother. By the end, we'll have a consistent modern system that improves the experience for both staff and the community. For conclusion, it also creates To close, this isn't just about adding a new tool, it's about modernizing how the city of Laredo serves our community. A digital signing system cuts down wait time, reduces paper waste, and improves the overall experience from staff and the customers. It gives us a real-time insight that not only helps the staff and the customers, the community, but it also gives our departments the knowledge on where they can get data, they can resolve their issues faster, and they can also make more informed decisions that can affect positively their own staff and their customers as well. It also creates a consistent experience citywide. No matter where a resident goes, they'll experience the same consistent process, the same level of organization, and the same professionalism. Most importantly, it improves how our residents feel when they walk through our doors. They feel taken care of, they feel they know what to expect, and they spend less time waiting. Taking this step positions us for better efficiency, clearer data, and a smoother experience for both staff and our community. We thank you for your time and attention, and we now open the floor for any questions.
All right, you nailed it. I appreciate again the time. It's a great presentation because we're currently going through that. A lot of departments. Great timing. You all had the same timing and opportunity to present. Very clear. You did your research. On my opinion, you had the images, samples. I really like your presentation. Yes, we need a centralized system. We're currently going through that. Yes, we're working with IT. There's changes. Sometimes people, employees, customers don't like change, you know. Upgrades are necessary within the different departments of the city. Yes, it takes time, sometimes a year or 2 years to implement a whole new software. An example I can give is building. You all have Evolve, you have Naviline. The issue you all have, they don't communicate. Other issues we would have learning the system, tracking everything down. Your customers, you know, your building, you know, inspectors, they have to learn the system on how to upload all the documents and changes. But it also depends on the employees to go back and call, send an email. You know, it takes a lot of time. And it's very tedious. Yes, it is. And trying to implement a single change, it costs a lot of money. Just a simple click button, it takes maybe $6,000, $7,000 to do that change, depending on if it's IT or on the vendor. Also, the currently what we're going issues with Bridge is proprietary data issues. An example, if we want to change our toll road system inside and outside, which is the office and on the roadside, it will be more than 20 million. You know, so yes, you need to have the funding, you need to have the support from management as well. And like us, we have more than 5 different platforms, which some of them don't merge the information. One of them also ACE400. I know some issues that we have. It's a very old system. It's outdated. It doesn't, the information doesn't jive. You cannot use other software that's more newer because of the system. That's what's holding us back. Yes, this will help us improvise, expedite for us crossings, for you all, planning, review, and all that good stuff. I know tax department has a very good system they're implementing, utilities as well. But again, it's very difficult to centralize all the platforms because we all use different systems. You know, we got different needs and you all nailed it. Integrating issues as well that we have, support from management, budget constraints. I mean, you nailed it, everything that we're going through. And this will provide, like you said, clear data, but we need to be consistent. We need to train. So with that being said, great job, keep up the good work, and we also learned something from you that we can take back. You know, so thank you so much.
I would like to congratulate the 4 of you for this presentation, customer service. That's my core right here. I work in property tax, and I do manage tax manages utilities customer service. So your presentation, I loved it because it's addressing QLIS, which is we implemented it about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. So it's working really well. So I appreciate the research that you did, that you went to the department, and that you got information, you got pictures of it, and I agree, it's working really well. I would hope that many other departments implement it if feasible, right? I do appreciate that you touch all the bases about improving customer service, right? I wish you would have elaborated a little bit more about, for example, our department just launched a new phone system for accepting property tax payments, which is new. It was a long-awaited project, and I think it's going to come in very, very helpful for our taxpayers. We currently have the online processing payments, which is Click2Gov. We also have the kiosks, right? So we have several payment options. Well, a lot of payment options for our customers, right? For utilities, both utilities and tax, which is our main collections. But overall, I think your presentation was really well. And again, I appreciate that you did the research for the city and that your recommendations, I think, are great. So thank you very much. Congratulations to the 4 of you.
Excellent presentation, very informative in regards to trying to centralize all the ACE system across different departments that obviously have that heavy load of customer service that they need to provide. I like the fact that you hit on the keys in regards to, the lack of data analysis that this system can provide, creating the awareness, and also trying to reduce that human error again, you still have the human because you have the human who's entering their information, but the an individual who's having to key that information to try to reduce the human error. What I would have liked to have seen in the presentation is the services that are currently being used from tax and municipal court. What are their stats? How well has that been working for them? That would have been a good visual to see where they're at, how long they've been using it. Has it improved their services? Has it reduced those errors on them? I would have liked to have seen how would you get departments to buy into this system? You know, how would you sell it for them to say this should be a good software to incorporate in your department? So what would be that buy-in? And then what departments would you all suggest that would be a good key factor that this system would be good for? Based on your research and putting this all together, but all in all, you all did really well. I like the fact that you all broke it down evenly between all of you. So excellent work. Thank you.
I have a little bit to add to that. So we did reach out to IT to make sure who was using it and why it wasn't being proposed to everyone. And they did say that that is the intention, to have like a public platform, I guess, for all the directors and see who was. They haven't gotten to that yet, but what it is the intention. And he also mentioned that it did initially, the pilot program was with building and planning a couple years back, and they really liked it because there's a lot of developers that go, and so they can do their appointment from home and not go until it's their turn. So it was really going to help them, but that there was a little bit of resistance with change, and it fell through. But now that we hear it's coming back, we're excited about that.
Yeah, resistance is always, there's always going to be resistance because people like the normality of how things operate, but then you also have the ones that want things quicker. So it's just getting adjusted to change.
And just from us four, each of them said that it would be very beneficial to their department. Mine is not so much customer front facing, so it wouldn't work for everyone, but we can give you a recommendation of departments.
Yes, and also we as City of Laredo employees, also we are customers too, right? So we use these services and we experience what it's like to be waiting. So I personally experienced using the utility service, and it was great. And that was back, I think, in May. So it was way before we knew that we were presenting something. But I really liked the experience to go, just sign in and just take a seat and wait, right? It was super fast and super practical. So I really liked it, and I think about my department. It will really be helpful for us as we receive a lot of customers daily. So that was the idea, and we will experience. Also, Adriana experienced something with health.
Yes, so I work at the health department, and I don't work at the Cedar office, but I went to visit just to make some observations, like if I'm a customer there, and just from what I saw and from some conversations with employees, there are individuals, that they are there waiting for long hours, and they don't want to get up from their seat, or they don't want to leave the area because to go to the restroom, or maybe to take the call, or because they are afraid to lose their place, because certain programs have like first come first serve. They don't run by appointment. Not all of them, some do. So even if it may not work for all the programs of the health department, I really think it would be beneficial for some of those that would work for, and it would also improve the efficiency, the customer wait time, their satisfaction, and also like I noticed that there were like 4 windows for like sign in, when this is something we discussed that we can use staff more efficiently. Instead of having 4 windows of 4 receptionists or clerks, it can be 1 and then a system, so just better use of staff, better use of customers' time, and overall satisfaction for staff and customers.
Thank you.
What I really loved about your project is it's a feasible idea that can be easily implemented and it would improve service like almost immediately. So I love that about your project. You talked about how it would streamline, you showed us analytics, you showed us charts, graphics. It was very apparent that you spent a lot of time researching, and I feel like each of you were very knowledgeable about the service, right? It was very evenly distributed from what I could tell. I do like that it monitors the wait time, like that graphic you showed with how long the check-in time and how long they were waiting, and then how long they spent with the representative. I think that really lends itself to workflow, right? So we can tell, like, you would really be able to do staffing in a different way, use that analytics to improve staffing. I also appreciate that you spent time on the budget part, right? Because we can't implement any project without looking at the numbers. And you all spent the time looking at the budget and about how we can scale it out with the different departments. The only thing that I would note is I recently went to an office where we had a digital check-in, and it was great. It was very fast service. The only thing is we didn't get the human encounter until 15, 20 minutes later. So I think keeping somebody there to greet people as they come in, and also there might be maybe senior citizens, right, who don't know how to use the program. I was helping my father at the time, so I was able to help him with that process, but I think making sure that we have a representative that can assist the community that needs help. But overall, I think you all did an excellent job.
Congratulations, team. I think that in terms of triangulation of research, this presentation is close to being perfect. I always say strive for excellence, not perfection, but there's a lot of things that you did right in this presentation. The character to image ratio is very, very on point in terms of being 50-50, so that's great. The organization, I mean, if this was a research paper, it read really well. The design, if you don't know, but there's research on colors that work well with presentations and how they're perceived by researchers, and this was one of them, so you picked a good one. That being said, I really like the fact that you have showcasing of the usage of this particular software, because you went out and you tested it and you made the calls, so you did the research. My only drawback of that is that it isn't here, right? It's not on there in the reference. Who did you speak to? I would have loved to see that as a YouTube video, a link where you went and you filmed yourself, you know, as she mentioned, right? There are some drawbacks of going and trying the usage of this software yourself if you are of a certain age, right? Or limitations. Is it accessible to all clients? Is that one of the things we have to worry about as well? So I would have loved to see what you mentioned actually displayed in the video, in video format, and in reference format in terms of who did you speak to, what did you see, what is the research, if these departments are in there, did you talk to somebody, right, which is evidence that you did. There's just not evidence in the presentation, right? In terms of customer experience, also that would have been great. You went there, you talked to someone that used it, you know, what was their experience, just what do you think, right? That would have also been very insightful, because us knowing about it in terms of we are insiders, but somebody that's an outsider that's part of the population that we're serving, would have been great to hear some of their feedback, right? I like the goal that you had, that you presented, which is you want to unify your departments and a more unified organization. That's great. I would have loved to see this being anchored to our leadership principles, because that's part of what's in the book, right? In terms of why it matters that your customer feels that you've tailored the experience to them, right? In terms of transparency, in terms of sense of belonging, and why it keeps them coming back to you, right? So in terms of triangulation of research, you did an excellent job. And I do commend all of you because you were knowledgeable, you shared the time equally, and at the end of the day, I think 110% on quality. Good job.
Thank you.
I just want to take the time really quick, Ms. Rodriguez, thank you for the work, for your insight experience and training the upcoming leaders. It takes a lot of time, but thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
So, we're gonna go ahead and give a certificate and award to our participants. So if the panel could please come down. Yes, I'm Italiana.
They're gonna give the presentation, they have the awards, but okay.
So leadership members, wait for your name to be called and then you'll go up and then we'll have picture opportunities.
It's an alphabetical order. By last name.
Do you want us to just file in this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, of course, yes.
Well, good morning. Today we celebrate the leadership, dedication, and growth of this year's graduates from the City of Laredo Leadership Development Program in partnership with TAMIU Continuing Education Department. Congratulations, you faced challenges and grew as leaders. It was not easy, I bet, but I am sure you understand the importance of serving our community. Leadership is not about titles. It's about integrity, influence, and stepping up when it's easier to step back. As city employees, you build trust, encourage teamwork, and drive positive changes across Laredo. The real impact begins now. Mentoring colleagues, leading projects, and helping every city employee succeed. Thank you for your commitment, and to all those who supported you, including Ms. Daniela Rodriguez. On behalf of the Department of Continuing Education and TAMIU, we're proud of you. Congratulations, and continue to lead with integrity and passion.
So if we could please have Vivian Ayala.
Okay, Vivian, just take your time. Smile, cheese. Got it. Got it.
Sandra Cáceres.
Perfect.
Now we have Federico Elizondo. Now Ana Garcia. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Just one more. Thank you.
We have now Merari Guzman. We have now Chief Jose Izaguirre.
Perfect.
We have now Abril Mosqueda. Yeah, she's in a meeting. Okay. So we're gonna have Jaime Ortiz. Brenda Pérez. I'm super tall. Adriana Rodríguez.
here.
And Liliana Silva Hinojosa. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for all the directors that support their employees, and this is hopefully just a continuation of all the goals that you have for your career. It is, we are very grateful that you have decided to have a career with the City of Laredo. From all these places, you have chosen us, so we in Human Resources have the commitment to provide all those opportunities for you to grow. So take them, never let that hunger for knowledge go away. Remember your why, remember why you chose to serve. You don't need, we've discussed that before, you don't need a title to lead. I don't know if you remember the video that Daniela put in one of the classes, the one about the guy dancing, that he started doing it at the beginning, nobody was doing anything, and at the end, the whole people there were dancing. So remember that, remember the ripple effect that every little action that you do, some projects takes a lot of time, a lot of money, but just a little something that you start doing will have a huge impact in our community. That is what we want at the end. We all in different positions, different departments, we all have something in common to serve. So keep that mindset. We are here to serve, we're here for our community, and what we do is important. Never forget that. Be proud of what you do, and share with your department. So thank you so much for being part of this program. We're going to start the next one soon. We might be going to your department, so help us to have that this program has a good name through your leadership and through your example. So thank you so much, and congratulations.
Just a personal note. I'm sorry.
Once my student, always my student, regardless of whether they were my student in Sunday school, at the university, or through these leadership programs, any way that I can help, whether it's a reference, recommendation, talking you down, right, for that nasty emails you mentioned before, remember that I'm here to serve, and I'm always here as a resource for you, right? So please remember that. And I really, really am humbled by the experience, and I thank you for the privilege of being able to impart my leadership experience, myself, my knowledge, what I bring from all these different areas, TAMU, College Station, Baylor. I'm your resource, right? So please continue to keep that in mind. If you ever need it, do not hesitate, because that's what I'm here for. Thank you.
And just very briefly, on a personal note, I want to congratulate Marta. This is her baby. That's why I decided. Thank you. You can take a group photo out by the stairs if you want to as a cohort, okay? So thank you.
Thank you.